This
Yeah, now I'm
conference will
started.
now be recorded.
Fine. So the presentation server, application server, and database server we are having. Database server. So when we talk about the presentation server, that means our up to somewhere like 2014, when the Fury was not introduced. Okay, so like SAP GUI, I don't know exact year when Fury came into the picture, but before that, mostly the people used to, you know, use this SAP GUI to connect with this application server. Okay, so their computer they used to connect with the help of SAP GUI, and you know like how to configure the SAP GUI when we have to configure some application server like some system, any kind of system development, quality or production. So there we can connect with this application server, and we can write the code or whatever. If we want to use any functionality, for example material management or sales and distribution, the T code and all we can execute and we can see at the SAP GUI level. Okay, so this is actually, it is connected, both is, everything is connected to each other. And gradually what happens that this presentation server evolved very fast, and nowadays like the SAP Fury is in very much demand. So you can see that everywhere Fury, and everywhere now the SAP is promoting Fury, though still the SAP GUI is there, but Fury is in most of the company is going to implement or in the process of implementing the Fury, or some already has implemented the Fury. Similarly, for the application server, in terms of application server, now the current version we are having 7.52, I think, right? The current version of the application server what we have. So here in terms of application server, it has also evolved, and now we are having NetWeaver 7.50 onwards, right? So NW 7.50 plus I can see. In terms of database, like we were using earlier, the traditional database, you know, the traditional database we are having the CIVS, MS SQL, right? MS SQL, and then Oracle. So these all are the database, DB2, DB6. There are many different database, conventional database we are having, and those database, those database uh, installed at the hard disk level, and there are some, you know, uh, performance related issue with such kind of database. Like you cannot perform the aggregate function over here, like, you know, when we were writing the code in our ABAP language, we were strictly guided that don't use the aggregate function like sum, max, mean, average. So these are the aggregate function or count. So such kind of, you know, uh, aggregate function we are not supposed to use with this traditional database. And then the problem arises, like suppose if you have to use the BI or BW, then in that case you will have to make a replica of this database with the help of some data provisioning technique, right? And you have to create another fact table. Okay, another fact table you will have to create, another data model you have to create, right? Another data model, another fact table, and then you are going to consume this fact table and data model in your BI or BW report. So you are going to migrate this data into another database, and there you are just going to use with the technology called Tableau or whatever the technology, crystal reporting. There are so many, I don't know all those things, but for BI or BW we are supposed to do the data, we are supposed to get the copy of data and put into some another table, whatever the data is required, and we can use those data in our BI or BW report. We cannot use directly this because here the architecture of the data model, architecture of the table is complex at this layer. So we are going to get, and we are creating a simplified architecture Okay, suppose here we are having 20 fields, or suppose if we are going to get the data from the VBAP table, right? You want to find all the laptops sold in a particular year. For example, Amazon is trying to find all the laptops sold worldwide in a particular year. So for that, if he's going to get and take the data from the VBAP table, right? So there are, lot of fields are there in the VBAP table. So it has to, because the data is there in the row storage. So I will just explain what is this row store, column store, and all these things in this our class itself. But in case of row store, and if you are having the large amount of fields, then for the system it becomes very difficult, to do the aggregation. Okay, I will let you know how it happens, but here just we understand that there are many there are many problems with the conventional database, and that was solved, the new database called the HANA database. Okay, the new database, that is the HANA database. So this database is our uh, in-memory database. Okay, that means instead of getting installed at the hard disk level directly, it is installed in the RAM level. So of course there is some more technology like persistent point and all is involved over there in order to persist the data when power is gone. As we know that when anything is there in the RAM, and if power goes, everything goes from there. So some technology they have introduced in order to prevent the data and all. So for that we don't have to bother, but mainly like we have to understand that this data is installed in the RAM level, and that's why the performance is going to be very very fast. The reason behind why the performance goes very fast, that if you see our the working mechanism of any computer system, then what happens that first RAM communicates with the hard disk, right? Hard disk, RAM communicates with the hard disks. So whenever any operation is required to be done, in that case the data is taken from the hard disk into the RAM, and then it is supplies to the then it is supplies to the CPU, right? Then it is supplies to the CPU. So maybe I can represent something like this. This is our CPU, and in the CPU we are having registers, cache, all these things, right? Flip flop, all these things, which is going to get the data from this RAM, and CPU is going to perform the calculations, right? So CPU demands the data from the RAM. RAM checks if the data is there or not. If the data is not there, it pulls the data from the hard disk, right? So this is the scenario we are having in the system. But suppose if your data is already there in the RAM itself, right? So system does not has to, this RAM does not have to go and check with the hard disk. It will, when CPU demands for any data, it will directly get the data from the RAM itself. And the RAM is very very fast, and earlier it used to be costly costly also, but nowadays if you compare with the earlier days, it's a very very cheap. So because the infrastructure also got changed, the price also got changed, and we were facing so many problems because uh, due to the large amount of customer, if some organization is having the large amount of customer, and if they have to take the report and all, and if they have to access the data, they were facing the issue. So because the cost and all got down, right? Technology also got enhanced. For example, right, earlier we were having what we were having, the 8084. If you talk about the 8084 IC, right? 80 I'm talking about the processing, right? If we talk about the Intel 8084, where we will be having the data bus of size 8-bit, right? Data bus is of size 8-bit. So when we talk about the 8-bit, that means it can maximum carries the data, it can maximum manipulate the data 2 to the power 8, because it uh, computer understands only 0 and 1, right? So 1 bit can have 0 or 1 only, so 8 bit can have the maximum 2 to the power 8 possible values. Okay, now the address bus here. So if you talk about the address bus now, so address bus is 16 bits we are having, and then here 2 to the power 2 to the power uh, 16 memory, 2 to the power 16 bits memory maximum can be attached with this CPU. So with this 8084, so it all depends on the capacity of the CPU, how much RAM you can attach. So the CPU also got, nowadays if you see in our normal simple computer, we are having the uh, i10, i7, something like that, right? i3, i5, i7. So gradually our CPU also keeps on evolving from this Intel 8084, 8086, Windows 98, Windows XP, and uh, that I'm talking about the OS, but not Intel, means like Pentium 4, and then dual core to duo, and then we come about all through it, i3, i5, and i7, and it keeps on going. So this is the scenario in our normal computer. But if we check, like if we are having any server, and if there are large vendor like IBM, HP, and all, they are doing all this stuff over there for the server. They are having, uh, they have they have a server in which they have created the server in such a way that for a one server can have n number of nodes. It can have the multiple nodes. If a database server is there, for example, if we consider about the HANA database server, in this HANA database server, it can have one database server can have multiple node, and one node can have, and one node can have 64 CPU. One node can have 64 cores. So all these core represents, uh, CPU. So one database can have multiple nodes, and one node can have 64 nodes. So this is about the current enhancement. So with the help of this enhancement, we are able to do, like we are able to achieve our requirement, and we can we can we can just let me note it down. And all each node one can have maximum, it can have max 64 or up to 64. Let me can have up to 64 cores, like that it is having. So each node can have, and one core is having somewhere, all the, like if you take the speed of one core, then it's a 2 MB per millisecond per core. The speed is like this. So if you suppose, if you have to scan the 100 GB of data, in that case you will require maximum, like for scanning the 100 GB of data, it will require, I think, maybe 1 minute, or not more than that, right? It will not even 1 minute. 1 minute, if you just calculate, it will be 1 second will be sufficient, because in 1 second this is actually a millisecond, right? So for scanning the 100 GB of data, 1 second is sufficient. So this much fast it is. Okay, so with the current enhancement and all, it is became feasible to install the database in RAM itself, and you know uh, and the previous challenges, what it was there, like we could overcome from that challenges. Okay, so we will see the previous challenges in detail over here. Okay, the very first challenges what we used to face over here, that suppose if you have some data, I have prepared already data. Okay, so here suppose if you have a VBAP table. Okay, and if you want to change any material over here, for example, I'm just going to paste it over here, and if you want to change this material over here, this laptop you want to uh, change into some maybe mobile. Okay, so what the system does, it copy these also, it copy this also, and this field also. Okay, so every other field also it copy, and this they keep as a previous version. Okay, so actually the system does the version management. Okay, for the audit and compliance purpose, system is supposed to do, SAP is supposed to do the version management, so that we can keep a track, auditor can keep a track, or even for our purpose also sometimes it becomes very useful if you are having the version management. So whenever your data, for example mara table or any master data table, already the change document concept is over there. So if you are having the change document concept applicable over there or applied over there, whenever you are going to change any data or any field of a particular record, what it will do, first it will copy all the record, and there it will change the data. Okay, there it will change the data, so that your previous version will be there. But you can see that in VBAP table or Mara table, we are having around 300 records, right? Sorry, 300 fields are there. So for 300 fields, it's going to copy all the fields, right? If you are going to change anything, it's going to copy all the fields. So if it's going to copy all the fields, it's a lot of memory required to handle such kind of scenario. Okay, so you can tell this is something like extra uh, like extra memory or duplicate record, something like that, because you can see here the duplicacy is there, right? You are not able to manage the duplicacy. You are going to change only the single field, and another field is going to get duplicate. Okay, so extra memory is required, right? Then the another problem is that if you consider the conventional database, right, the what you have to do, if you take any database, you are having there the primary key, right? And for example, VBAP, right? Here you are having these two as a primary key. Maybe I can mark it down in this color. So based upon the primary key, automatically you know that primary index gets created, right? So if you're going to search based upon the primary index, that's fine, it will give you the performance better, right? Lot of performance improvement is there if you are going to search based upon the primary key very fast. But if you are going to but if you are going to select the data based upon the non-primary key value, you know the data is not there in the sorted order because the indexing is not over here. System will take a lot of time, and if you have large amount of data, then it becomes problematic, right? So this is like another problem you have to in order to get the performance over there. What you will have to do, you will have to create a secondary index based upon your requirement. But also you cannot create a secondary index more than, like, it is not recommended to create secondary index more than 16. If we are going to create more than 16 even sometimes I have seen, like, it all depends on version, or version to version of SAP. In some version of SAP, in some version of NetWeaver, maximum 9 secondary index is supposed to be created in order to achieve the better performance. because anytime if you are going to change anything database, the secondary index has to be adjusted accordingly, right? So if your record is a highly modifiable, right, so more than 9 or more than 16 based upon the version, you are not supposed to create the secondary index. And suppose if you are having lot of select query on a database table, then if you are willing to create the secondary index also, that also you will not be able to do. However, suppose if you are creating the 9 or 16, whatever the secondary index, it's going to have the extra database overhead, right? So secondary index, if you are going to create secondary index, if you are going to create, it's going to become the extra database DB overhead. And you also cannot create more than 16 or 9, whatever the version is there supported by SAP. So maybe we can combine together, we can tell that more than 16 is not recommended to create the second index, right? So this is another problem, right? We have already seen that road traversal, suppose if you have to add this net price, right, if you have to add this net price, data gets stored in the row format. So when I tell the row format, that means, and you already know that in hard disk how the data is going to be stored in the database, right? So if it is in row format or column format, does not matter, it is going to store in the sequential format, right? So I'm just going to show you over here. Suppose if it is a row storage format, then how the data gets stored. Okay, so here I'm going to copy this one, this value, right click, and I will just use this transpose option to show the data here. So here you can see that this data in the sequential format, this BBELN gets stored over here. Then this Posner will gets stored, right? Right click, and again I will do the same. Then okay, so in sequential format it gets stored like this, because it's you know one thing I'm doing over here mistake, because I have taken this row storage, but here I'm showing you in the column storage. Okay, so let me first show you the row storage, how the data gets stored, and then we will see in the column storage. Okay, so this is the row, right? So first the row will get copied and it will be pasted over here. Row gets copied and it will be pasted over here. Then the second row gets copied and it will get posted over here, and then the third row maybe you can take like this. And similarly the similarly we are having the this row, fourth row, fifth row, and sixth row, it will get copied and pasted over there. So what is the problem over here, right? Maybe I can differentiate this record by giving one extra column over here. Okay, insert, and fine. So okay, okay, good. So here you can see, suppose if you have to this quantity, okay, suppose if you have to add this quantity, for example, if you have to perform the aggregation for all the iPhone, wherever the iPhone 6 is there, just you want to get all the price of the iPhone 6, right? So what the system has to do, first it will come and check what is the price of iPhone 6. It will traverse all through this, and wherever it will find the iPhone 6 corresponding amount, it will take. Again it will traverse and it will check wherever the iPhone 6 is there, it will just find out and get the data, and it will add it up, because we are going to add. And similarly it has to find and add, find and add, find and add. Since it is the sorted order system is fine, here performance will be better. But suppose iPhone 6 is here, somewhere here, different places, it is not in sorted order. In that case the performance is going to be very bad, right? So in row storage, this is the scenario. In column storage, you can see the row storage wise the data is getting stored over here, row by row, row by row. In column storage, the column wise data gets stored. Okay, so just I'm going to copy over here, and maybe here again I will paste it over here. So the one column gets stored in the sequential way like this. Okay, just I'm going to copy this one, Posner, and we can put like this, and again it is there in the sequential format. So maybe I can use this over here again, this particular value, material number. We will come over here and I will paste it, and similarly this net price also, it will come over here at last. Right click and give this value. So now suppose if you have to add all the iPhone is there, right? All this iPhone, you can see all the material is together here, all the price is together here, right? It is together, all the price. So now if you have to all the price, if you have to perform all the aggregation over here, what it is, it will come and simply add all the data. It does not have to traverse. But in the row storage, even if you have to add all the price, in that case also it has to come over here again, it has to come, it has to traverse, it has to traverse. So this traversal is known as the row traversal. So this was another problem, row traversal. With the help of row traversal, you know it it used to be, with respect to performance, it was a bad thing, it was not a good thing. But here if you have to perform any calculation, you know if you have to perform any aggregation, it's very easy. If you want to perform the calculation, even for example for all the iPhone 6, in this case also it is easy, because all the iPhone 6, when you create the when you store the data in the column format, by default, you know all the column is in sorted order, all the column is in sorted order by default. So you don't have to create the secondary index. Secondary index is not required to be created when you are using the database, when you are using the database as a HANA database, right? So it is sorted here also, it is sorted. So since it is sorted, system knows that here, there is a mechanism implemented code. There are a lot of code is there, that code determines, because it is sorted, so accordingly it has to face this second three record, and it has to just add it up. No traversing and all is required. Other thing is that, lot of memory consumption. Okay, lot of memory consumption. Why lot of memory consumption? The reason, and here you can see that duplicate iPhone 6, iPhone 6 is there, duplicate record we are having, right? Here also Samsung Galaxy we are having, 3 to 5 times. And suppose if you are having multiple records, in that case you can assume how many repetition it can be over there, right? So in row storage, this is one another problem. This problem you can remove in the column storage. So how you can remove this problem in this column storage? The reason behind this, all this data in the column storage, if it gets stored, the unique records gets stored over here. For example, like this iPhone 6, iPhone 6, it will not get stored 3 times over here. It will store here, one another table will be created. Okay, and in that table, the index of iPhone 6 will be written over there. So one is the name over here, name of the material will be there, and another here, the another column will be there, which will contain the index of iPhone 6. So maybe I will just copy this one, okay, for our convenient, and I will paste it over here. Okay, so here see that for this iPhone 6, we are having, 4, 5, and 6, right? This is the index 4, 5, but this is overall. In this table we are having the index maybe 2, 3, and 5. So here 2 in the ascending order, 3 and 5 will be there. So only the record will be there for this iPhone 6, and these two records will not be there when actually will be stored in the database. Okay, so this only single iPhone, there will be a pointer to this this iPhone 6 to this iPhone 6. This iPhone 6 will check when at what places this value is there. So it will check at 2, 3, and 5 places value is. So while reconstructing, like when you are fetching the data from example this VBAP table, right? At that time it will reconstruct the data, because if it will give the data to you like this, we won't be able to understand, right, how. So it will reconstruct the data and it will put the data, okay, then it will show you. So this you can understand as a disadvantage column storage, because it has to reconstruct, right? But the another advantage, so I'm discussing right now the advantage, so let us uh, understand in terms of advantage. So but the advantage here is iPhone 6, only one time just you are going to use over here, right? And this way it's going to save lot of space, lot of, like for Samsung Galaxy, right? Only one time you will have to, right? Over here you are going to in another table, which is your index table, and here let's see, you can give your record over there, and you can give the index 6, 7, 9, 10, and 11. So 6 comma 7 comma 10 comma 11. So you can see this much record you are able to only in only in 3 record. So if you are having the large data, it's going to have a it's going to have a large impact on the memory. You will be able to save a lot of memory. Okay, so this is another benefit of this column storage, right? So and also like we understood that in the row storage there is another problem. That problem, that change document concept, we have already understood, fine, so no need of discussing that one. So this was all over. If we come together, this was all over the problem. The very big problem was the performance. The most important problem was the performance, how to aggregate the data, right? And another problem was like data provisioning for BI and BW. We have to put the data into another database table, and we have to use this. So problem of, the solution of all this problem was the column storage. Solution of all this problem was the column storage. So how the column storage, we have seen in case of aggregation how it's going to how it's going to impact heavily, and it's going to reduce the size of the memory, right? In terms of aggregation, we have seen in terms of memory, we have seen, but in terms of change document, how it's going to impact, right? In terms of change document, how it's going to give us the benefit. So what happens whenever any records gets modified in the column storage, okay, it gets saved with the latest timestamp over there. Okay, so for example, you have this record over there and you want to modify this mobile, this laptop with mobile. It will not copy all this data and all. Okay, it will not copy all this data and all. What it will do, it will just modify this laptop, and for this particular field, whatever this field is, so this is the Matner field, right? You can see this is the Matner field. So for this Matner field, it will put the, for the mobile it will put the latest timestamp, and for this it will not do anything. It will keep like that, it will keep as it is. And for mobile it will put the latest timestamp. And when we are going to put the select query on this BBAP table, system will come and fetch the latest record, and that's what we want to get, right? It will sort the data, whatever on Matner it is there with timestamp, all the data, right? All the data, in fact it will sort with the timestamp, and whatever the latest one is there, it will just get. And by that way we are able to save lot of memory, and even we are able to do the version management also, right? So we are able to do the version management also. We are not going to create the duplicate record also with the help of this column storage technique. So this was some important, important point which we are supposed to understand in terms of column storage. Okay. Now let's come over here, and what we will do that maybe we will write the benefit of the column storage. So what is actually the important benefit for this column store, that we will write for our convenience over here. So let's write over here. So the first very important is the, maybe we can write like this, advantage of column storage. The very first advantage we can tell that you don't have to create, no need of creation of secondary index or extra index. No need of creation of extra indices. Okay. So why? Because just I have told you, uh, all the column, right? This all the column gets stored in the database in the sorted order, right? In the sorted order. So each column behaves like a, behaves like a separate table. This column is a single table. You can understand it in form of a tiny table, right? So if a table is having only the single, you know the single field over there, and it is all, it will get stored together. So it's easy for us to store in the sorted order, right? So it will be, everything is the here in the sorted order. So since it is sorted order, all together in the sorted order, what is the purpose of indexing? Indexing is nothing but it helps us to sort the data, so that when we perform the searching over there, automatically binary search gets applied over there, right? So since automatically sorting is over here in the column storage, right? So you don't have to require any extra index. By default, index is there. By default, it is sorted, so no need of creating the extra index. That is one, a benefit. Another benefit, aggregation you can do. Aggregation on fly, you can perform. You can perform aggregation on fly. So when I tell the aggregation on fly, you can perform aggregation on fly. That means sum, mean, max, the sum you can do, mean you can do, max you can do. So all this, average, all such kind of aggregation you can perform without any thought. Means it's very easy, right? If you want to perform the inner join and all also, that is also, it's going to be very performance, uh, no, sorry, inner join is, like in terms of column storage, if you are going to see, maybe inner join is not going to be that much helpful, but this, if you talk about the aggregation, just we have seen, it's going to be very, very effective. Okay. We have seen the another benefit, the compression, right? You can achieve the compression. Compression is, a high in case if you have duplicate record, right? So it will be compressed. So one, like record uh, multiple record which is having the same value, you are just going to compress with the one value, right? So this is also known as the compression technique. This is also known as this record got compressed. Okay. But so how this is the technique, like you are going to create one another index table, and in that table we're just going to put this material over there, and this index you are just going to give it. So compression is high in case if you have the duplicate record, or compression can be achieved in uh, column storage, right? Then here, no change document, right? We have no change document is required. No, like version management of a record version management of a record for audit and compliance purposes, or for even our purposes also. Sometimes we want to see what was the earlier record. Okay, so version management of a record for audit and compliance, or as a history, it's going to help us a lot without creating the duplicate record, without creating the duplicate record. Okay, with the help of, how it is possible, with the help of latest time stamp. So these are some important factor which you will have to consider. But the question here is it always good, the row store? Okay, so the question is here, is it always good, the column store? This is the question, because column store, we have seen there are many advantages here. Okay, so there is nothing in this world which is having everything positive. Okay, if you take some example, like in our old days we used to walk, right? Then after cycle came, then motorcycle came, right? Then car came, then plane came, rocket came, so many things came. But still we are walking, we are using the cycle, we are using the motorcycle, we are using the car. Everybody cannot go and take the flight, and even flight is having their own circumstances, their own limitation. Everywhere we cannot they create such kind of platform, right? So similarly, row storage is now also having the lot of significance. It is not like that it has been completely gone when the HANA database has come, right? We have seen some disadvantages. We have seen some. Uh, can someone please mute from your side? It's uh, okay. I have muted. Okay, fine, good. So yeah, what I was talking about. Mm, I forgot. Okay, so I was talking about that, the row
Advantage and
storage.
disadvantage of row storage.
Right. Yes, thanks. Yeah. So when we are talking about like the advantage and disadvantages of the column storage, so just we are talking that column storage does not have always the advantage. So in what scenario we'll have to use the column storage, and in what scenario we have to use a row storage, this we will have to understand. Very, very important. Okay, so one cons just we have seen, like if you have to get the data again, suppose if you're going to fetch the select query, for going to put the select query on this BBAP table, in that case, because you can see the indexing here it has been used, so for the database again it has to restructure, right? For the database again it has to restructure. So this is the biggest disadvantage, because it has to do the restructuring. And suppose if you have the large amount of data, and if like if we're going to put the multiple, for example, if we're going to select the material also, if we're going to select the net price also, and some another field also you are having in this BBAP table, those are highly compressed. But suppose if your requirement is something like, you are going to get the data from the multiple fields, or if we are going to get all the data from the BBAP table, which is not means such kind of scenario you will not get in the real time. You don't require at a time all the data. If you have developed some report or something like that, you have realized that in one go we will require 2 or 3 or 4, or maximum 5 records, something like that. It is not like we have to get all the fields from the particular table and we have to get. But suppose if you have to get all the field from a particular, uh, from a particular table, then in that case the performance will go decrease. The reason behind why the performance will go decrease, because just you have seen over here that, you know suppose if you are going to get this material number, right? So it has to restructure, correct? And suppose in this net price also, right, 1000 it is at two places, so the compression will be used. And again, if you are going to get this net price, so 2 3 4 are field, if you are going to select, that's fine, there is no problem. Even 5 6 up to 10 field, maybe it is fine. But more than that, 11 or 12 fields if you are going to select, system will, system has to perform a lot of task to reconstruct the record, and that's why it is not advisable. That's the reason it is not advisable to put the select star on any of the table, particularly in case of, in case of column storage. In case of row storage, it's fine. If you're going to put the select star, it's fine, though as a standard practice, select star should not be used at all, right? We all know, as a SAP ABAP developer, we all know as a standard practice, select star is not at all good practice. But if you compare with the column storage, it's going to give you the lot of advantage, means in terms of performance. So suppose if you have to use somewhere, like your scenario is something like that, your scenario is something like that, you have to get all the data from the table. Okay, you have to get all the data from a table. So in that case, you can use the row storage format over there. That means when you are going to develop that database, okay, so generally we are going to develop our custom database, right? So when we are going to develop our, database, so just column storage, this is. And if you know that you are having large amount of field in that database, maybe more than 10 or 15 fields are there, and if you know that you all the field of that particular database, for example, you have created a G table, G demo kind of, and it is having maybe 20 fields, and in your program maybe your requirement is something like that, every time you are going to fetch all the record, then make that table as a row storage. Okay, make that table as a row storage. If a small amount of field is there, even select star is not going to make you much impact, because only 4 fields is there, it is going to fetch you only the 4 fields. So in that case, in that case, suppose if you're having the 4 5 or maybe 10 fields like that, up to 10 fields, so it's a very subjective actually. Okay, and in that case you can go for the column storage, because column storage is having a lot of other advantages, right? So this is one, like when you have to use the select star, you have to use the select star. When you have to use the select star, you can use the row storage. Column storage, you are supposed to go when you have to have, when you have to. Okay, so just a second. So column storage we are supposed to use when we are going to select some specific field 1, field 2, or if we are having the a small amount of, means a small number of field, so field 3, something like that, certain fields if you are going to select, then we are supposed to do. So in case of select star, we are supposed to use row storage. In case of certain fields, we are supposed to use column storage. Okay, row storage also, you can use, for example, if you are having the less frequently read access, right? If you are having the less frequently read access is there, and highly modifiable. Like suppose if you have to modify some data, right? If you have to modify some data in a table frequently, so there is a scenario where uh, you are having less modification, and you are having the high modification, means a high modification. So in case of high modification, what you will have to do, you have to avoid this column storage. You don't have to use the, in case of high modification, you don't have to use this column store. You have to use the row store. Okay, so you have to avoid the high modification. So maybe you can put here this high modification, you can write it for the row storage. Okay, and the late modification, if you know that in your database record the less modification is going to happen, then you can go for the column storage. So you have to understand these parameters, because this is important, right? Why in case of high modification we are supposed to use the row storage? The main thing is restructuring. If you come over here and suppose if you have to modify some data over here, if you have a lot of modification is going to take place. Okay, for example, net price is going to keep on changing, suppose very frequently, then what will have to do the system, it has to restructure the index for this 50,000 if you have used, because indexing will be used in this HANA database, right? For this field also, for this field also, even this is duplicate or not, it does not matter, the indexing will be there. Okay, so in case of restructuring, like if you're going to modify some database, it has to manage over there, it has to manipulate the indexing, and wherever that indexing has been used, everywhere it has to go and correct. So in case of high, but for the row storage, it's simple. It will come and it will just go and modify, nothing to do. So it's beneficial. If you compare the high modification, then row storage, you can opt for the row storage. Okay, now the another important thing is, that suppose if we're going to fetch the value from here, from the row storage, what you can do, that the unique value. So when I tell the unique value, that means, so unique value. So in case of, like if you are having the unique value there in the database, okay, you know that you are having unique value here, lot of repetition is not there, you can go for the row storage if lot of repetition is not there, because you are not going to get advantage of a separation. You also know that in your database table you don't have the quantity field, right? If you don't have the quantity field, you cannot perform the aggregation over there, right? So why to go for the column store then? The benefit, the maximum benefit of the compression and the the compression and the storage, like less storage, both we cannot achieve, because duplicacy is not there, and also we don't have the quantity field or any numeric field where we are going to perform the aggregation. So if such kind of field is not there, we are not supposed to use this column storage, because it does not make the sense over there, or means it will become uh, problematic then. Okay, so in that case row storage will give you the better performance. So you have the unique record value, and suppose, and maybe you can also write, and if you have some numeric or maybe quantity field, currency or quantity field, you can write it over here, something like that. Currency or quantity field you are having, unique record and no currency and quantity field, then you can go for this row storage. It's fine. But if you have both things over here, right? If you have non-unique record, that means you are having the duplicate record, then in that case, and you have currency and quantity field, then what you can do that, you can go for column store. So these are some important parameter you have to understand while considering whether my table will be row storage or the column storage, right? So this is some important parameter is there. Now we'll come to the first slides and we will see some important concept over here, which is going to help us understand the evolution, like how the HANA got evolved and how it's how it has been its journey. Okay, so maybe what I will do that I will tell you some important uh, I will share you some important fact over here, right? So though there are many advantage, but suppose if some customer has already installed, right? This is your application server, and here you are having your database server, right? Database server. So suppose some customer has already installed their database server, Oracle or whatever it is there, and if SAP goes over there and tells that that my HANA database is very powerful and it's going to give you a lot of advantage and all these things, it is going to tell to him. But for the customer, it's very difficult to get convinced that the HANA database is going to so in like nowadays it's gradually it's getting proved that it's really very powerful and it's a lot of it is having a lot of advantage. But on initial days like 2011 or 2012, when HANA was evolving, at that time for SAP it was having difficulties to convince the customer. So in that case, what they did, SAP told that you don't disrupt the existing database. What you do, install the HANA database inside. Okay, install the HANA database without disturbing the actual database. Just install the HANA database, in a side. Means here you are having the HANA database, so here you are having the main database, right? So you are not going to interrupt anything over there into the actual database. Just you are going to copy the record from here into here, and in some record, okay, for some tables, just to showcase the sample that this HANA database is really very fast and it is going to help you a lot, so for not all the table, but maximum of the table, like for which they are going to use the report in BI or BW or whatever purpose. Okay, put the data over here and using the technique called ADBC, right? ADBC, ABAP database connectivity. They connected, they fetched the data from this particular database server, that is the HANA database server, and get the data directly to this application server within fraction of second. Okay, so by this way they started showcasing this particular power of the HANA database. And this technique is known as the sidecar scenario. This scenario is known as the sidecar scenario. Means along with the main database, you are just using the HANA database as a side. You are not interrupting the database. Okay, now uh, when customer realized the power and when they started showing the faith on this, then the first HANA database as the primary database, okay, the first database, like this HANA database came as a primary database on BW on HANA as a BW NetWeaver version 7.31. So this HANA data, this particular, like maybe I can write like this. So BW on HANA, okay, or sometimes also it is called BW powered by HANA, powered by HANA. That means this database directly going to get used as a main database for the BW from the NetWeaver 7.31. Okay, NetWeaver BW 7.31. From this version, they have started working this one. After that, for our this main, our this is the BW application server. This application server is a BW application server for our, like in our ECC scenario or ERP scenario where we are using ECC 6.0, there they started 7.40 SP02 onwards, as a main HANA database. Okay, so maybe I will show you as a, I will create one more slides, and here I'll copy the same, paste it. Okay, so here, like as the main HANA database server, I'm just going to remove this. And for the main database server, it came 7.NetWeaver 7.40 SPS 02, or some, like we can also tell, like from NetWeaver 7.40 onwards, the directly HANA database server started getting used, as a direct database. Okay, and with this 7.40, lot of new also came into the picture. Okay, why? The reason behind why new things came into the picture, first I will tell you what is the new things came into the picture. New open SQL concept, new open SQL came into the picture. New syntax, also lot of new syntaxes in ABAP got used. Okay, lot of new syntaxes got introduced in the ABAP. Okay, then CDS services, this one AMDP, right? These all these started, like from that words, it was became more popular from that time onwards. The reason behind, earlier when we were not having the HANA database, okay, earlier when we were not having the HANA database, in that case, most of the logic we used to write at the application server layer. We used to fetch the data from here, put the loop over there, manipulate the data, and the front end screen, right? So through the presentation server. That used to be happen earlier. We are not supposed to perform like more than two inner join was not, supposed to perform, supposed to write over here in the application server when we are not having the HANA database. If it is Oracle or MySQL, something like that, which they are on the hard disk level, right? But when HANA database come over here, so we are supposed to use the inner join. We are supposed to put the, as like we can use as many as inner join over here. We can perform the max, mean, all these things, because the column storage, and since it is having the mass for processing, right? This HANA database is having the massive parallel process capacity. So because all these things it is having, it's a very powerful. So now the SAP started recommending that instead of writing maximum, logic over here, like whatever the filtration and all these things you have to do, do all the filtration here itself. If you have to write some if else, if you have to use some loop or whatever you want to perform, you know just do the maximum filtration, maximum logic you can write it here itself, because now HANA database is having the capacity to perform the maximum operation on the database layer. That the approach was something like this. So maximum, you know here, from here, you are here you are going to perform the maximum logic. Here you are going to do the maximum operation. At application server layer you are going to perform the maximum operation, but at the HANA database layer you are supposed to perform the lesser operation. Okay, earlier, at the database server, lesser operation earlier. This is, I'm talking about the earlier scenario. But now with the introduction of HANA database, this simply got reverted. Okay, this simply got reverted, and now it became something like this. Okay, this, now we are supposed to do the maximum operation. The maximum operation we are supposed to do, sorry, the minimum operation we are supposed to do at the application server layer, right? Minimum operation, and the maximum operation we are supposed to do at the database layer. So this technique is actually, this the maximum operation, this technique is known as the code push down technique. Like maximum code we are pushing down to the uh, you know to the database layer. This is also known as the code to data paradigm. Okay, this is also known as code to data paradigm, or some people also tells, top to bottom approach. Top to bottom approach. Okay, and this is known as bottom to bottom up approach, or uh, this is the earlier, earlier paradigm. It is known as, data data to code paradigm. So I will use this one. So earlier, this code to data paradigm is here, and here it is data to code paradigm. So something like that. These are the terminology. So the terminology, the second terminology, like code push down technique. This is very popular. It became popular after 7.40, because HANA came as a direct database, and here if we are having the HANA database, then we are going to achieve the maximum performance. Since we can achieve the maximum performance, we can, you know put the maximum logic, maximum operation over there. So the code push down technique came into the picture, and that's why the new OpenSQL syntax, the new syntaxes, this syntaxes is not related with that particular things, but the CDS, AMDP, then ALV IDA, right? If you have to perform the if you have to show the ALV, okay, with the, then the technique called integrated data access. With the help of integrated data access, you can achieve the code push down, right? You can perform the maximum operation on the database layer, and directly the required data you can fetch and you can show in terms of ALV. So CDS, AMDP, information model also, like, information model somewhere between 2011 to 2014 it was very popular. I think up to 2015, information model. And when the CDS was getting more feature, it was having the more feature, and it was very nice actually. This CDS is very, very powerful. So that's why this information model technique, this we will talk, but this information model also we will see in uh, detail. With the help of example, it is having three, model, attribute, analytical, and calculation, and there is also one more that is called decision table. So under information model, it is started, you know getting all these things, all kind of different model gets introduced. and just for the sake of code push down, but it didn't become very popular because better technique got introduced. Okay, and more flexibility. That's why nowadays even informational model is not very much appreciated. Okay, but somewhere, like if already something has been developed somehow or in some another way, some of course some benefit is there, will be there. So more or less it's still getting used, but the more focus is there on the CDS, you know this AMDP. If you compare with the CDS AMDP, the more focus is on the CDS. Like if you tell that 50% is like more than 50, even the 60 or 70% places the CDS getting used. And in CDS also there is a concept called VDM, virtual data model. With the help of that concept, the CDS became also very very powerful, very powerful. And Fury and BI or BW, that's getting used very frequently. Okay, just save it. And now this we understood, this concept we understood, and what we will do, that we will see the evolution of HANA, or maybe we will see some very interesting fact about this HANA database. So the interesting fact is that, like suppose if you want to know that how the HANA is developed, like in which language HANA has been developed, right? So maybe I can write it over here. First, we have talked so many things about HANA, but I just forgot to tell you the full form of HANA. So HANA stands for high performance, high performance analytical appliance. It is not a software, it is not a database, it is a uh, appliance. So appliance means it is a combination of hardware and software. It is a combination of powerful hardware and software. High performance analytical appliance. Okay, HANA. Now HANA was developed in C++. HANA has been developed in C++. Fine. So HANA has been developed in the C++. Okay. Okay, so okay, I got some question over here. Maybe I was not able to see, just I saw the question over here. Neha is asking that how latest timestamp different from the earlier timestamp in SAP. Fine. So the latest timestamp, let me go once again in that Excel. And okay, so in the first I will give the answer of the Neha question, right? Before that, Vijaya has asked a question like how we can choose the row or column storage. So just I have discussed how we are, like how we are going to choose the row or column storage, what criteria we are having over here. So hope Vijaya it is clear for you. If you have any doubt, you can just let me know. Uh, the the fact we have discussed about the row and column storage, if you have any doubt over there, you can just unmute yourself and you can ask to me. Okay, or you can ping the question over here if you have any doubt over here in terms of the theory or in terms of the concept I have explained over there. Now the Neha is having the question that how latest timestamp different from the earlier timestamp in SAP. So latest timestamp, it is like to manage the change document, right? When we are going to manage the change document, here you have seen earlier, like if you are going to create the record, because the storage was the row storage, right? The technique you were using earlier, the row storage. So if you are going to change anything, even a single field over there, the benefit of timestamp you will not be able to use because you were using the row storage technique over there. You will have to copy all the data, okay, and there you will have to modify the record. There you will have to modify. But in the column storage, because all the data you are putting together over here in terms of indexes, you can see the Samsung Galaxy, it has been right at how many places, right? This 6, 7, 9, 10 and 11 is there. So if you are going to modify at, suppose the Samsung Galaxy, going to modify with the Samsung Note maybe, okay, and this particular number of, this particular uh, uh, record, since it got modified, so for everything it is not required to get the backup, okay. Only the Samsung Note with the latest timestamp, for example, here you can see that it is the Samsung Galaxy. Now what you will have to do, you will have to create one Samsung underscore Note, and from here you will have to remove, the which 10 index number 10 you will have to remove from here, because now it is not more there, and you will have to use with the timestamp. So whatever the timestamp when the Samsung Note got created, just you have to give over here, and the earlier timestamp for the Samsung Galaxy, that will be also there for this Samsung Galaxy, the earlier. So here you can see this 10, actually it will not get removed from here, this will be still there, but you will be having with the old timestamp, okay. It will be there with the old timestamp, and here this 10 will be there with the new timestamp. So new timestamp, when I tell the new timestamp, that means today is 3rd May 8:55 a.m., right? So the data is going to get something like 2020 0503, and the time it's going to happen 08, okay, then 56 08 56, and whatever the seconds it will be there, suppose 35 seconds, right? It will take that timestamp over there, okay. And the earlier timestamp, of course it will be the lesser than this, so it will just compare and it will find out which is the latest timestamp, which is the latest time when the the same data at the same place got modified, and it will take over there, right? So this, so there is, they are having the mechanism over there. There are, that is database that is that not simply store the data, lot of logic, there are a lot of programs has been written over there in order to identify how they are going to manage the timestamp, okay. And they will choose the latest timestamp and they will get the data, okay. They will get the data. So hope it's fine for you, Neha, or if you have any question you can just go ahead and you can discuss with me. You can
Oh, sir, it is
unmute
clear.
yourself. Okay, fine, good,
Okay.
thanks. Okay, and again, Vijaya is having, is it mandatory that 7.4 can be upgraded only if DB is, no, it is not like that, Vijaya. It is not at all. It can, it is a backward compatible. You can have any database over there. It can be Oracle database, it can be any another database. It's a backward compatible. If some organization does not have the, you know good economical situation, or suppose if he does not and if his requirement is not to go to, the different database, right, onto the HANA database, because HANA database is costly also, then he cannot go. He can just upgrade his application server, because this application server 7.4 is having a lot of another advantage also. For example, it can integrate with the OData, right? It can be integrated with the OData gateway. So you can take the advantage of latest application server. It is not necessary that we can have the HANA database over there, and that's why that's why we are having the R3 architecture. That's the meaning of R3 architecture. Like if you want to upgrade your application server, you can upgrade. you can upgrade. And it is like of course some compatibility is there, but always the SAP takes care of backward compatibility, right? Fine. So this is, hope that gives your answer. And for the second, yeah, we got to know, but how we can let system know that to use row or column storage. Okay, so actually, okay, good question. So maybe I will show you over here. Just let me open my system. So there is a flag over there in the database. Whenever you are going to create any database table, database table, at that place you are going to have, a flag, and that flag actually is going to help you, you know that flag is going to help you. Just I will show you over here. Okay, so if you log into the system over here and /n sc11, you can go. So maybe suppose this is some custom table, or you can take the standard table as well. And this is, this system is S/4HANA actually. Okay, that means the database is HANA. So if you want to see what is the database being used, so there is two ways you can check how what is the database inside. Okay, so first I will show you like how it will decide whether this is the row storage or column storage. So what you can do, that you can go to this technical settings. Okay, and once you click on the technical settings, you will see here the option called DB specific properties. Okay, over here, and you will see that here the column store, row store, undefined, the three properties there, right? So if we're going to select the column store, system will identify that, this particular table is stored as the column store. Okay, so this is how system identifies. If you go and check the Mara table, okay, if you go and check the Mara table, go to technical settings and DB specific, you can see it is, this is also the column store. So maximum of the, table you will be able to see the column store table only. Okay, so this is how the system identify. Hope it's a answer. And now another question. Okay, thanks. Fine. So okay, and now if you want to check what is the database it is being used, you can go to this system and you can go to this status over here, and here you can see that it's a HDB. Okay, this is the HDB HANA database, and here you can see the schema and all we will see in upcoming session. What is the schema, what is this user, what is this owner. Okay, but here you can see, if you want to see what is the database, you can see this is the HANA database being used. Even if you want to see some extra information like what is the, NetWeaver version and all, you can click on this detail button, product version detail button, come over here, and here you can see the SAP basis. This SAP basis is nothing but your NetWeaver version 7.52. Okay, this is the 7.52 version, the SP level. Okay, the support, the support pack is the 0002, and these are the different component, but the NetWeaver version represented by this SAP basis. Okay, so here, and the here you can see the which HANA version it's getting used over here. So S4 HANA on premise it is 1709. Okay, currently it's a 1909. Okay, this is 1709. And here the SAP Fury for S4 HANA 1709. So you can see, like from here you can come and you can see what is the version over here. Okay, what is the version over here we are having. Fine. So this was some basic understanding just I have shown you, and now what we can do, that. Just a second, I'm trying to. Okay, good. So HANA was developed in C++. We saw that how the HANA was developed in C++. Uh, and then another important fact that I can note it down, the OS. Okay, OS on which this HANA is supported. So very first time when the HANA was introduced, the OS, okay, the OS was SUSC, Swiss Linux Server. This was on this OS it was installed. Okay, so OS, you can see this one. And now now it also supports, it can be installed on Red Hat a Linux server. So another OS also it supports, that is known as Red Hat Linux server. So on these two types of platform the HANA can be installed. Just save it. And now going forward, now we will see the how like what is the architecture of HANA. Or maybe this will be the last topic of our today's session, and then we'll be having some common question and answer and how to get the server access and all. If you have any doubt, you can just ask me after this on the end of this session. Okay, so uh, if you see, this HANA is nothing but HANA is a appliance. HANA, some people also it tells like it is a platform. It is uh, either appliance or platform. It is not like a software or simply a hardware. It's a combination of powerful software and hardware, right? So maybe first I will show you some important things like suppose if this is your HANA database, then it is having a lot of property. So for example, the very important property, maybe I can note it down, it is in memory. Okay, so in memory means it is installed in RAM. Okay, the second property, you can note it down over here, that it is having the it is having to maybe massive parallel processing. Massive parallel processing. Okay, then this HANA behaves like a digital core. This HANA behaves like a digital core, and with the help of with the evolution of S4 HANA, okay, with the evolution of S4 HANA, now it has become very powerful. This HANA became very powerful. Okay, so it is also known as a digital core. The reason behind it, it can support the sensor. That means it can support the artificial intelligence, it can support the IoT, because it is having the sensor attached. It can easily collaborate with the IoT. You can implement over here the machine learning, data science, all these things can be big data, all these things with the help of HANA. Now it's possible. So that's why it is known as the digital core. This is in the core now. This is you know very powerful. It supports the fuzzy search also, HANA search and fuzzy search. It supports both HANA search and fuzzy search. We will see what is the HANA search, okay, and fuzzy search. It supports both kind of search. Why? Because it's a in-memory database and it can search very fast. Fuzzy search was not possible, in with the earlier database. Now maybe you can also note down over here that HANA consists a calculation engine. HANA is having a calculation engine which is responsible for doing all such kind of stuff. It is having a separate calculation engine dedicated to perform all these tasks. Okay, you can also maybe you can also note it down over here that it performs very effectively OLAP and OLTP. So first let me write OLTP and OLAP. what is OLTP and OLAP? So OLTP is nothing but online transactional processing. Transactional processing. This is the meaning of OLTP. And when you talk about the OLAP, so OLAP is nothing but online analytical processing. So what is this online analytical processing? So online analytical processing means your BI or BW system, right, where you have large amount of data, means lot of data. OLAP means lot of data, lot of means lot of data. So that's why a different mechanism, that's why different mechanism required. That's why the BIBW concept came into the picture in order to analyze the data. Okay, but in the OLTP you don't have large amount of data, you have the small amount of data. Like this ECC is the example of OLTP. Like suppose if you have to create a purchase order, or if you have to create some sales order, something like that, right? So here you are not going to manipulate large amount of data. If you have to read some data also, it's comparatively very less. It's very easy over here. That's why it is known as the that's why it is known as the online transactional processing. Day to day. Just to give me a second, I'm trying to minimize this one. Yeah, now it's fine. Okay. Okay, so this you understood, OLTP, online transactional processing, and here you are having the less amount of data, less amount of data. Fine, just going to save it. And now what we will see, that how the architecture of HANA is, means what are the component is there involved. But before that, someone more important thing is here in order to understand, you know that is going to help you, to differentiate the S for HANA and business suite on HANA. Okay, so maybe I will start from here. Okay, here you can see that when you are having the some Oracle database or something like that, maybe Oracle database or some non-HANA database server, in that case you started using the sidecar scenario. So this environment is known as the Sidecar Scenario environment. But when your application server from 7.40 onwards started using the HANA database server as a main database, that means here the ECC 6.0, right, or ERP, whatever. Okay, this was the conventional ECC system. Okay, it started using the HANA database server. This particular things is known as, the business suite on HANA. Business suite on HANA. Business suite on HANA. This is known as where you are having the ECC and HANA database server. Okay, but what SAP realized, to get the maximum performance, or like to utilize the maximum gain in performance, or to optimize the operation, or to give the smooth user experience, the previous ECC code or previous ECC program was not that much optimized with respect to HANA, because totally architecture got changed over here. Instead of getting saved, it is saved at hard disk level. The HANA database is getting saved at the RAM level. It's getting installed at the RAM level, right? Instead of using the row storage, most of the time it's going to use the column storage. So with the help of this, and another also, like in hardware, in terms of hardware enhancement, you have seen the hardware. And now we are having the SSD in terms of hard disk. We are having the SSD, we are having so much powerful RAM, so much fast DDR3, DDR4 generally we use, and in this server maybe more powerful RAM getting used, more processor which is having the more capacity. And we also seen that one like one server can have multiple node, and one node can have up to 64 cores and one core speed like 2 MB per millisecond per core, it is there. So with all this advancement, with all this enhancement, the SAP realized that whatever the code is here that was not with the ABAP, they have to push down. Okay, so what they did, they re-engineered, they did a re-engineering of their code. That means they started doing the modification and they launched the new product which was very much specific to the HANA only, means that is specific to only HANA database. Okay, the S4 HANA product was, I don't know now if it is compatible with the another database or not, but as per my understanding and my knowledge, the S4 HANA is only with the HANA database server. You must have the HANA database, then only S4 HANA product will work. Okay, so the S4 HANA does not ECC 6.0 and all. It is having, the product called S4 HANA and HANA database. So the all code got re-engineered, and the after the business suite on HANA, the S4 HANA came on the picture, and in S4 HANA there were many changes there. Okay, so maybe I will put these slides over here, and here directly itself I'm going to copy this one. This is your business suite on HANA, and after this business suite on HANA, what we have, that we are having the S4 HANA. So this got integrated into S4 HANA. So in S4 HANA there are so many technical, in S4 HANA, there are lot of modification in data model. Okay, so just we were having the MC table, Mara table, Mardi table, Mardi table, all such kind of table we used to have. Okay, but in S4 HANA system we are having only one table. I will show you that. So in S4 HANA you must have the HANA database over here, and here in HANA this can be any other database, any database also. Here in S4 HANA you can have, HANA DB only. Okay, so this is the suite, and this four actually, because R3, that stands for 3-tier architecture. So just for a semantical, like it's a very simple name, they have given something like 4, or some people also use suite for HANA, right? But this is actually, business suite on HANA. This is business suite on HANA, and this is suite for HANA. Okay, so on and for, there is this difference is there, you can understand like this, or in terms of variable this is going to represent you. Okay, the HANA. Fine, hope it's clear. If you have any question, you can just go ahead and you can ask me. In S4 HANA still SAP scripts and smart forms are there. Smart forms is there and SAP script is there. Yes, both is there. SAP script and smart form both is there. So you can go to this system, and if you give the slash and a smart form, right, this is a transaction for a smart form, you can go and you can see this is there, and you can create the any smart form. And for SAP script, what is the DB? 71. So you can go and you can create the SAP script also, now also, and Adobe form is also there, right? SAP Adobe form also we are having. So all this is, all SAP based, whatever the technique is there, all three are there. Fine. Any question till now, if you have, please feel free to ask. Okay. Okay, some question. Okay, fine, no problem. So now, okay, the question Vijay is asking that HANA is application server. Yes, this is application server. your understanding that this is the enhanced application server. This is having powerful with respect to HANA. It is optimized with respect to HANA. Okay, and some interesting fact I will just show you over here. Like the earlier, the data model got lot of changed in the data model. I will show you a lot of changing in the data model in S4 HANA. So just I'm trying to insert one new slides over here. I will put it. So in terms of S4 HANA, we are going to have a lot of, so just if you take this S4 HANA, and earlier, like if I'm going to take Oracle or something like that, conventional DB, right? Conventional DB. And if you are going to take this S4 HANA over here, S4 HANA, then earlier the DB which is having over here, this is S4 HANA. So actually my representation is not correct over here. Let me, this is not due to the HANA, actually this is due to the S4 HANA. This changes is due to the S4 HANA. So in ECC 6.0, if you will see at the SE11 layer, means at the data dictionary layer, at a data dictionary layer, the table which we are having, the Mara table, Marcy table, Mardi table, and similarly we are having around 26 tables related with material management, and sales and distribution and all these things, maybe particularly for with respect to material management, so 26 tables, right? These all tables got converted into a single table, and that this is actually, I can write it specific table, and it got converted into a single table, and that table is matdoc. The table name is matdoc. So 26 table got converted into the matdoc table. Okay, so number of fields also got increased. But if you go and search this Marcy, Mardi, all this table, that is still there. If you take the example of this Marcy table, and if you go into SE11, you will see that it is still there. You can see, and this table is there, but this is not the actual table. Actually, they have kept this table. The reason behind why they have kept this table, because there are a lot of coding in backend which is using this table. If you remove this table, it will give you the dump. So this is not the actually, the table is actually in, instead of this, you are having a proxy object, or there is a concept called replacement object. You are having a replacement object which is getting used instead of this Marcy table. So you can, where you can check that proxy object, you can go over here, you can see that this is the proxy object. Earlier we used to see it is coming in terms of replacement object. Okay, now the name got changed and it is coming in terms of proxy object. Okay, you can see over here, and you can see this is the name of the proxy object. And if you double click on this proxy object, or maybe you can copy this one and come over here, go to SE11, this is nothing but your CDS view. So this table, this CDS view, okay, ADT tools in Eclipse. Okay, here actually we are not able to see, uh, but I can show you. NSDMV underscore Marcy is the name of the CDS. Okay, the SQL view name. So if you search this one, you will be able to get this one, and from there you can get the definition. So if you double click over here, that is actually NSDM underscore E underscore Marcy. You can see over here, NSDM underscore Marcy. So this is actually getting triggered. And if you see the all the fields, there are a lot of fields, right? All these fields going to get selected from which table? Just we will go at last and we will see from which table all the fields is going to get selected. So maybe you might not be understanding at this point of time. So just I'm showing you. We will see all these stuff when we will come in the chapter CDS. Okay, and at that point of time we will understand. So here just you will, I'm trying to show you, select this, select from Mars CST, that's fine. Okay, No SAS CLNR. So actually, let me search. Here we are not able to search for MadDoc. Actually, there is transaction. I'm not able to remember, or some program is there. If you go over there, DDL source, something like that program. DDL source. Just let me search it. So demo show DDL source. Is it the same? Let me check. Give the DDL source nsdm underscore e underscore marse. Enter. Nothing found. Leave it. I will check and I will let you know. But just to understand, instead of all these tables, the one table, all the field got clubbed together in the matdoc table, and this is a big table. If you see that, now you are having the big table /n se11 mat doc. Lot of fields it will be having. You can see the 339 fields is there. So all the field from Mara also you can see. All the field from Mara Matner is Matner, the field from MSEG also you will be able to see. Similarly, in finance, in a finance, that in finance also lot of tables. I don't know exactly the count of the table, but the table like BSEG, BKPF, okay, BKPF here in the first one, MSEG, MKPF, right? This is there. This also got converted into MadDoc. Here BSEG, BKPF, BSET, BSIS. So these are the different table related with the finance, and this all together got converted. There are many, not only four, there are many. Another table is also there. Exact count I don't know, but it got converted, the table called AC Doka. AC Doka. This is the table AC Doka. So one is MadDoc and AC Doka. So lot of simplification has been done. This is just two example, but lot of more example is there. I will in coming classes I will just show you. So these are very two popular example, okay, and lot of impact was on the, lot of changes have been done in the system with the help of this. Fine, so let me save it, and we will quickly see the architecture. Maybe we will stop it here itself, or if you have any question over here, you can just ask me over here. Fine. So what is the major difference between S4 HANA on premise and cloud? So Muthu is asking, what is the major difference between S4 HANA on premise and on cloud? So as you know that, Amazon Web Services, right? There are many cloud technology like AWS, okay, Amazon Web Services. So with the help of this cloud technology, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud like GCP, right? Google Cloud Platform, Google Cloud Platform, and then you are having one also very popular vendor that is called Microsoft Azure, right? Microsoft Azure. So this is also very popular. So most of the market has been being captured by the Amazon Web Services because it was introduced very early days, but the GCP is actually at the third. Only 3% market is covered by the GCP. 17%, I think, or even more than around 50%. I don't know the exact figure. But the thing that your question here is concerned about the on-premise HANA and the cloud, right? On-premise and the S4 HANA cloud. What is the major differences? Okay. So the difference, yeah. Any question? Anyone is asking? Okay, fine. No question. Good. So here, the GCP Google Cloud Platform. So the question here is on premise, and just let me at one place. I'm just going to write on premise, and I will write the S4 HANA cloud. S4 HANA on premise actually, S4, S4 HANA on premise and S4 HANA on cloud. So only the difference, here what we have in on premise, you are having every setup, you are having your own, like all the SAP system, all the basis guides, right? All the data center, like all the application server, it has been set up by yourself. It has been set up by the organization itself. They are having their own data center, they are having their own application server, they are having their own, all the hardware and everything, they are own their own setup. Okay, in that is the known as on premise. That means own, completely own setup, completely own setup. Just they are going to use the SAP software. Okay, just they are going to take the license of SAP and going to install in their own hardware. Okay, so completely own setup here in the S4 HANA on premise. But in S4 HANA on cloud, what is the scenario that you have to choose any one of this service provider, either AWS or Microsoft Azure or GCP, Google Cloud Platform, and there you have to take the server on rent. Okay, so there are actually three: PaaS, SaaS, and IaaS, platform as a service, software as a service, and infrastructure as a service. Three kind of services are provided by the you know this cloud provider, the cloud vendor. Three kinds of services provided. Based upon your requirement, what are the services you want to take from them, just in integration of SAP cloud platform and this, SAP Cloud Platform. Earlier it was HCP, HANA Cloud Platform. So now with the help of SCP and with the help of this Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud Platform or any of these, what you can do, you can buy the server and you can rent the server, and there you can get all the setup, all the license from the SAP, and you can put it to there, you know. So now in that case, everything will be managed by this vendor. Okay, and even the your software will be also managed by the SAP only, but the custom coding, for the custom requirement, the code and all, everything you have to write in the similar way as we do now. Okay, so there is also one more, concept has come, the RESTful ABAP. So when you are going to do the coding on the cloud, then that RESTful ABAP is going to help you a lot. Okay, RESTful ABAP is going to help you. ABAP, so it is mostly based upon some CDS and all. I have not gone through in very detail, but that RESTful ABAP is going to help you when you are going to install your system on the on cloud. Okay, but the conventional ABAP also, it's going to means that will be also there. Like it is not that it will be completely removed. The conventional ABAP will be there, it will be there. Okay, so here completely own setup. Here we are not having the completely own, the customization, like in terms of code development we can take it on, and based upon the service, we have to take care of other things. Okay, so like the uh, the maintenance and all these things, maintenance or server can be taken, application server can be, application server, database server can be taken on rent, and everything can be put on the cloud. So these are the major differences between the S4 HANA on premise and S4 HANA on cloud. This is the major difference. Like you are going to take on the rent, here you are not having your own setup, here you are having your own setups. Okay, so okay, some one question, uh, okay, one more question is there, that this conversation happens if DB is HANA. What conversation? Can you elaborate this conversation? Which conversation? This conversation happens if DB is HANA. Like I'm not able to get your question. Can you please elaborate? This conversation happens if DB is HANA table. Which conversation? You can unmute your line and you can ask me the question in little detail. I'm not able to understand the question. Vijaya. Table conversation. Where we are, okay. Yeah, yes for HANA, yes, right. If you are having the yes for HANA, right? If you are having the yes for HANA, that means HANA will be there in background, right? In a backend, the HANA will be there because the yes for HANA, only the table conversation, like the multiple table is going to get converted into the single table, and that happens only the yes for HANA is there. And when yes for HANA is there, HANA database mandatorily will be there. Okay. So maybe S4HANA might support in a later release or something like that. It may support some another DB also, but as of now, it supports only the HANA only. Okay, that's why they have kept the name also like S4HANA. Okay, it's a HANA specific. Fine. So another question, you have presents few points for selection of row or column table. What to do if we have few points each from each side? Then should we use column table or create row table in case of conflict? Very good question. Very good question. So here, you have to consider all the parameter and you have to take which is having more weight over there, and accordingly you will have to decide. Okay, so it's a subjective, it's a subjective. That's why the consultant come into the picture, because where to use a, like if you have to high read access, you don't have more modification, go for row storage, right? So the different angle we are having over there, so we have to think all the angle, and whichever is having the more point suitable over there, that you will have to consider, that you will have to do. Okay, Matdoc and all only on HANA. Yes. Okay, fine. I have given this answer. If any question, if you have still, you can ask the question. Feel free to ask the question. Okay. Until everything is done, maybe what we can do, that I'm going to stop the recording now. And with respect to server,